Hello, friends, and welcome to another edition of Transformational Astrology. I'm Henry Seltzer, and we want to talk about the weekend that's coming up, which is the new moon eclipse, Saturday, solar eclipse, and then also I'm going to mention the lunar eclipse, which does come on May 15th, and is another indication of how strong Pluto is in these last few charts. Pluto transformation, seeming troubles, seeming that we have to really pay attention to what we need to let go of because things aren't working out the way we want them to. There's transformation in the air, death and rebirth. We're fine if we go smoothly to it. We just accept that things are changing. Not so easy if we try to stick with what was in the past because what was in the past wasn't working. So with a lot of Pluto, we do have that impulse towards personal evolution that we need to make. Changes that we need to make, mostly letting go. And pretty much that's still a factor even in this new moon, which is an eclipse, and we do want to talk about the eclipse season of these two strong lunations, powerful lunations that are coming up in the next couple of weeks. Saturday being the beginning of it, the 30th, and then the 15th, 15 days later. Okay, let's look at the charts. So we want to go and look, see these charts. And here is the new moon eclipse on the 30th. And as usual, of course, with a new moon, sun and moon, together at the same degree and minute of Taurus, 10 degrees of Taurus, 28 minutes. And then we have the nearby 22-degree mark of the node of the moon, the north node, indicating that this is a north node eclipse, indicating that there is a pull towards this part of our chart. So wherever the Taurus part of the chart hits you, if you're in Aries, like this chart is shown, the natural chart of Aries, it will be your second house. It will have to do with values. It will have to do with resources. It could have to do with finances. These things are all an important focus right now with this eclipse. And not only that, one thing we want to notice in this eclipse is that the sun and moon are actually in a close sextile with Mars, which rules Aries, so that the house preceding that, wherever that Taurus house lands in your chart, is also a focus. We have Chiron there. By the time of the full moon, Venus will have moved to the position of Chiron, so that is kind of important. And we also want to take note, as I say, Pluto is still quite important. It's trined by Mercury, a Mercury that's about to station to retrograde motion on May 10th, coming right up. It gets to about 5 degrees of Gemini before going backwards, then re-entering Taurus on the 22nd of May, then finally turning to direct motion, and then gradually recovering its lost zodiacal longitude by the middle of June. So it's kind of the next 6 weeks period of time that we have to be thinking about, because even as it's slowing down, of course, Mercury is already kind of in a pre-retrograde pattern. And what do we mean by Mercury retrograde? It's even more significant that Mercury retrogrades in Gemini this coming month. That is because Mercury and Gemini are closely related. Mercury is the ruler of Gemini, has to do with mental things, so does Gemini. So we will be taking our understanding of what it means to be doing mental things, communication, conversation, could be writing, could be journaling. These things are important right now with Mercury about to turn retrograde. It's a good time to journal, a good time to think about where we're at, what's going on. Where, in fact, that Taurus energy hits our chart will be a place we'll be thinking about, because Mercury will be retrograding back into Taurus eventually before it straightens out. So these things are good to think about. Another thing that's quite interesting, I think, in this full moon, I'm sorry, this is the new moon, sorry. In this new moon configuration, Mercury is exactly trine, pretty much, to the position of Pluto. So that brings Pluto into the picture. And as well, this whole third of the whole chart, the 120 degrees of the 360 degree chart, is where all the planets are located. So it's extremely focused right now, this timing. And we do realize that there's a lot of things going on in the world that affect us. It's how we react to it. It's how we deal with these things, how we deal with our own personal situation that's very important right now. And just to emphasize Pluto, even in this configuration, before the May 15th one, we have also a very close square between Haumea, one of these new planets. Here's Makemake, here's Haumea, which have been in Libra for quite a while. They're slow moving just like Pluto. They're a little bit slower than Pluto even. And here we have the square between Haumea and Pluto, which indicates that there's a transformation going on in our sense of what's right, in our sense of how we're doing with nature. How are we doing with that? Are we protecting species? Are we protecting the earth? Are we protecting in terms of the climate change issue of carbon pollution? Really the best would be to leave the fossil fuels in the ground, as far as that goes. So these are the things that we are kind of focused on, including when I say the connection with nature, represented by Haumea. It's also a connection with our own internal nature. What is the way that we feel most comfortably aligned with what we know to be true, what we know to be right. Right action, right relationship are all part of this archetype, this new archetype that's just coming into view with our Western astrology. And the fact that it's square to Pluto at this time. And let me just take a preview look at the May 15th chart too, just to show you. So here's the full moon. And at this time also, not only is the square still quite close, but the position of the sun and the position of the moon in opposition to each other enhance by sextile and by trine this aspect, this energy around Pluto. So we know that Pluto's not not going away, even though it was last month it was really emphasized. It's still emphasized this month of May. Through this retrograde period, there's a lot of change in the air. And that's just what I want to emphasize. Now let's keep looking at this new moon. We don't want to neglect certain other factors in it. There is a very strong triple conjunction in Pisces with Neptune, Venus, and Jupiter. Now, the actual Neptune-Jupiter conjunction is a little bit past now, because see, we're 3 degrees and even more, 3.5 degrees past. That is to say, Jupiter being past the position of Neptune. This was really active last month from April 7th till the 16th. It kind of faded away as Jupiter moved beyond. But we know that the Jupiter-Neptune has been very strong in terms of emphasizing a spiritual quality, in terms of emphasizing that we have soul to consider, not just what's in the physical, not just the materialistic side of things, but what is also in the depths of our being, the watery depths of our being are where we're connected to all living creatures in that kind of oceanic sense of oneness, which is Neptune. And that was a time also when, there were certain more optimistic factors going on in the world. Well, we still have that because, Venus still is there, has moved into a position between them and is now exactly in the same degree, in fact, the same degree and minute practically of Jupiter. So this is a very positive side of things. That's a positive element that comes into play, connected as well by sextile with this position of Pluto in conjunct Haumea. So, this is a very strong, and the fact that it's an eclipse makes it strong too. So this is a very strong new moon. It's really a time, as every new moon is, it's really a time when we can start to take we make an assessment, look beyond the here and now, the little details, the things that won't matter in 100 years. What do you have on your grave that really, after you pass? What would be on your gravestone that really matters is the love you had, the love you exhibited, the deeds you did that made things work better for the whole world, for the whole society you're within, with your family. What did you do that you really could chalk up at the end of your life and say, this is what I accomplished? It's probably not going to be that $1,000 raise that you were looking for and you were excited about. It's probably not going to be, the things that you just did routinely, the material things you had, the material situation. It's probably going to be more about love. about who you really were able to connect with at depth, who you were able to really help get over what they're trying to get past, and how you were able to get past your own issues to really deal with the bigger picture. That's what we're talking about with Neptune. That's what we're talking about, this Neptune, Jupiter, and Venus triple conjunction, where Venus is ruling the eclipse, actually, because it rules Taurus. What's it all about in a fundamental level? What we can really point to as this is what counts. And really, it comes down to love. That's really all we have. That's what we got here. But it's hard to recognize. And, it's so easy to get caught up into the materialistic assumption, the mental assumption also, and ignore the elements of soul that are just so important to everything, to the way we live, to the way we exist. So taking another look at this next eclipse that's coming up on May 15th, which is Sunday, 2 weeks from the Sunday following, Sunday, April 30th is Saturday, Sunday is the first, and 2 weeks after that, on the 15th, is this other very strong eclipse, which we don't want to neglect. We want to mention that in connection with the first eclipse, because it's the full moon that follows. And that would be, here we go, this chart. And I did tell you a couple things about it already. It's very close to the nodal axis, only 3 degrees away. It's, again, the sun is connected with the north node, which puts a focus still on the sign of Taurus, and wherever that lands in your chart. But it's also to be considered is the other side of that relationship comes in as a kind of a automatic factor in the fact that this is a full moon. And relationship also in terms of the fact that we have Venus very emphasized here, connected to both Uranus and connected to Chiron, conjunct Chiron with less than a degree, a semi-sextile 30-degree aspect to Uranus. So we have the potential for surprise, the potential for surprising revelation, and also inner wounding could come up, all in connection to relationships and to the issues of this Taurus house. So wherever Taurus lies in your chart, and you can look up your chart in a number of ways, including the membership on the Astrograph software website. You have a free chart for yourself if you want. You can join that for a monthly fee and do all kinds of charts, do as many charts as you want. It's just like a little app. It's on the internet, so it's a web app. And you can put that on your phone if you want instead of the TimePassages app, which is another available app on your phone that we provide. Either one of those, you can look at various house systems. You can see where your chart by your time of birth comes and where that Taurus house lies, and concentrate your energies on that house and on the opposite house in terms of what's going on for you this incredible month, where, as I said, Mercury's also retrograding. Here it is retrograding at 3 degrees. It's moved a couple of degrees back from the point where it started to retrograde on May 10th. And those dates again are at May 22nd when it crosses back into Taurus and then turns around on the 3rd of June is when it does its station direct. And then it takes a couple more weeks to move past where it started and to get into Gemini, which is when it will be kind of free of its the retrograde spell that has put us under, right? So this is a whole period of time that goes right into the middle of June, where we will be deeply reflecting on things and trying to see where we're going, where we're headed with these energies that reflect where we're dealing. It's not like they cause us to do anything. They reflect the quality of the time, that it is a transformational period of time. There's still a lot of Neptune emphasized in this full moon chart, which is 2 weeks after the new moon eclipse. We have Mars moved all the way to Neptune, so there's still a lot of Neptune. We have Jupiter now in Aries. It crosses into Aries May 10th right along with the Mercury retrograde. So that's an optimistic factor that it's right at the beginning of Aries. So this is how things are going to be shaping up, things that you can tell for yourself without having to read about it. And the other thing to remember, in this full moon, with the sun opposite the moon at 25 degrees, at 25 degrees very nearly, we also have Saturn. So that brings in also commitment, brings in also an understanding of the limitations of situations. We have a pretty strong factor of Uranus still in the skies right now, with the Taurus eclipse so close to Uranus, the new moon eclipse of the 30th, but we do have also the limitations. And this grows to a crescendo, this square aspect, which is relieved now. It's not so close now, but by November it becomes close again. And there's a November 8th eclipse when it's very close, the T-square with the sun and moon opposite, with Uranus as well at the 15-degree mark, just like it is now. And with also, because the moon will be at the 15-degree mark, the sun will be at the 15-degree mark of the opposite sign of Scorpio on November 8th. So that is a powerful eclipse as well, coincident with the election here in the United States, bringing the Saturn square. Saturn will be at a different degree. It'll be backwards by that time, retrograde by that time, moving to 18 degrees, and there will be a very strong T-square to Saturn. So Saturn and Uranus are still with us this entire year, representing the collision of energies between going for it, finding progressive moves that we can make, and also recognizing the caution and limitation that we need to exercise in our lives to keep the status quo, or some semblance of the status quo. So that's the factors, that we have Pluto urging us to change, eliminate things that are no longer possible for us, that really are old news, things that we have to let go of. Saturn, the caution, though, the conservative nature of that, not to let go of everything completely. And then Uranus, on the other hand, saying, go for it. Just go to the next thing, go to the new progressive thing. So those factors are still all very strong, including Neptune. So all the outer planets, and it's very strong. And it's just an intense time. And the main thing I want to emphasize, let me switch back to the new moon chart at this point. The main thing I want to emphasize in all of this is that, things come down and we have a tendency to look at it and go, oh my gosh, and worry. And we don't have to worry because it's all happening according to, I don't want to say the plan, but there's a way to take it as a constructive thing and to recognize that the transformation that we're in the midst of could be very, very helpful if we can look at it that way, if we could take a positive outlook upon it, as the triple conjunction here of Neptune and Jupiter is trying to, with Venus also, is trying to let us know that there is a way that we can look at this as just a natural evolution, get past our inner wounding, try to just take things in our stride as we can, try to make the best out of it, just do the best we can with it. That's all we can do. And it does make for a healing if we can manage that. So I hope that was helpful to some degree. And just want to say that these are crazy times, incredible times. We do have to think carefully about what's going on. Take it seriously, your life. This is your life. Take it seriously. Don't despair. Take it as it comes and try to make the best of it. And that's all we can do, isn't it? Just make the best of what we got going. All right, take care, friends, and talk to you soon. Bye now.